So, what if you could take the most powerful force in all of finance and use it not for your money, but for your life? Well, today, we're going to build a model to do exactly that. We're calling it the compounding tree. And it all kicks off with one simple question.
Look, before you can even think about growing your career or your wealth, you've got to focus on your number one asset, and that's you. So in a world with a million different things pulling at your attention, how do you get the absolute best return on yourself?
The answer isn't some secret hack or a hot stock tip. It's actually a universal law of nature. The same force that turns a tiny seed into a massive forest, or a few pennies into a fortune. It's compounding. And the idea is that tiny, consistent actions day after day don't just add up, they multiply.
Every great tree starts with just one single seed. For us, that seed is really getting how this universal law works in practice. So let's look at a super simple example to see just how unbelievably powerful this can be.
Let's just start with a small, totally manageable number, 25. Imagine reading just 25 pages of a good book every single day. I mean, that's a tiny commitment, right? Probably less than an hour? It almost seems like it's not even worth it.
But that's where compounding kicks in. That tiny habit, over 1 year, becomes over 9,000 pages. That's like reading 30 full-length books. Think about that. It's a massive leap in what you know, all from one small, consistent action.
But, and this is a big but, here's the catch. The idea itself is dead simple. The consistency, though, that's the hard part. That takes real discipline. Because that consistency is where all the magic of compounding really happens.
Okay, so we've planted the seed of compounding. Now it's time to grow the trunk of our tree. And a strong, sturdy trunk is built on one thing, a solid foundation of compounded knowledge.
Elon Musk has this really powerful way of thinking about knowledge. He compares it to a tree. He says you have to understand the fundamental principles first. That's the trunk. Because without that strong trunk, all the little details, the leaves, well, they just have nothing to hold on to. They just fall away.
So how do you find these big foundational principles? Well, here are two killer mental models. First up is the Lindy effect. Basically, prioritize knowledge that's been around forever. An idea that survived for 2,000 years is probably going to be around for another 2,000. It's a great way to filter out all the noise. And second, use the Feynman technique. The real test of whether you understand something is if you can explain it in super simple terms, like you're talking to a kid. If you can't do that, you probably haven't really grasped it yourself yet. All right, so with a solid trunk of knowledge in place, our tree can start growing some strong branches. And these branches, they represent your character, which is what happens when you compound knowledge into actual wisdom. You know what's funny? The more you learn, the more you start to realize just how much you don't know. And that humility, that's the real foundation for character. The great investor Charlie Munger put it perfectly. Acknowledging what you don't know is the dawning of wisdom.
And that humility leads us to one of the most powerful ideas for building character, living by an inner scorecard instead of an outer one. See, the outer scorecard is all about what other people think of you, your reputation, your job title, how many likes you get. But the inner scorecard, that's the one that really counts. It's based on your own principles. It's about being able to look yourself in the mirror and ask, am I doing the right thing here?
This also helps you understand your circle of competence. And listen, the goal is not to have the biggest circle in the room. The goal is to know exactly where the boundaries of your circle are and have the discipline to stay inside it.
Okay, so you've put in the work. You've grown a solid trunk of knowledge and strong branches of character. And now we get to the best part. It's time to harvest the fruit of this tree by compounding your entire life.
But let's get really, really clear about what the goal is here. Being rich, that just means you have a lot of money. But being wealthy, that's something else entirely. Being wealthy means having control over your time. It means freedom. And that is the ultimate fruit of the compounding tree.
So how do you get this freedom? Well, Munger's path is almost deceptively simple. First, spend less than you make. Second, always be saving something. And third, and this one is absolutely crucial, use tax-deferred accounts. Why? Because this protects your money from taxes, which is one of the biggest things that can interrupt compounding and lets your money grow at its full explosive power.
And this principle goes way beyond just money. Your life, right now, is really just the sum of your past choices. All those hard choices, saving money, exercising, reading a book, they compound over time into an easy life. And all the easy choices, spending it all, procrastinating, well, they compound into a hard life.
Which brings us to the single most important rule in this whole thing. The one thing you have to protect at all costs if you want any of this to work.
And here it is. Never, ever interrupt compounding unnecessarily. It doesn't matter if it's your investments, your learning, or your habits. Consistency is the secret sauce. Don't stop. Don't get shaken out of the game. That is literally the whole thing.
So knowing what you know now, that the smallest, most consistent actions create the most massive results over time, I'll just leave you with this one question. What one simple habit are you going to start compounding starting today?